Hi everyone, welcome to Sunny Day Discussions. I am Sunny Day. Today I want to talk about the politics of fear, lies, and gaslighting versus the politics of spin. Now, what I mean by spin is that the Democratic Party is really good at making their accomplishments sound better than they are. For instance, now we're able to negotiate drug cost, and that they've dropped the price of drugs. They say it's a historic thing. They've lowered the cost of prescription drugs, but they don't mention usually that it's only like 3 prescription drugs, and that's only if you have Medicaid or Medicare. Can't remember. But that's a spin on the truth. So they're not technically lying. They're just not being forthcoming. Like their discussions and claims that Biden is the most environmentally friendly president, and that he's done more for the environment than anyone else. But that's just not true. You know, Jimmy Carter had solar panels put on the White House. Both of the Roosevelts were far better about environmental policies. And surprisingly, Richard Nixon. Nixon established the Environmental Protection Agency, along with a couple more endangered species acts, protecting mammals, that kind of a thing. So he is not the best president when it comes to the environment. They spin historic gun reform. They passed a little bill. It's a step in the right direction. Does it do much? No. But it's good. Like I said, it's a step in the right direction. So they just don't tell you the whole truth. They just spin it to make it better and sound better than it actually is. Whereas there's the Republican Party. And the Republican Party, it's the party of fear politics. It tries to convince their followers that certain people and groups of people and things like that are out to get them. You know, like the white replacement theory, immigrants are coming for your jobs, LGBTQ people are groomers, Democrats are pedophiles and want to eat kids' brains or something about the adrenaline that doesn't exist. So those are lies. But then they also, in spite of as well as the fear, they gaslight. And gaslighting is something that, like, an abusive spouse would do. After beating up their spouse, they would say, well, I wouldn't have had to do that if you had just done what I asked you to. Only their gaslighting is, look at how terrible and bad the Democrats are. So you focus on the Democrats while they're doing exactly what they're claiming the Democrats are doing. Like they're claiming Democrats are taking away rights. What rights? I know every time a Democrat comes into power, I hear they're coming for our guns. That hasn't happened. It's not going to happen. They don't want to take your guns. Although they might get there if you keep fighting against gun control. But what other rights have Democrats allegedly stripped away? Nothing. But the Republicans, on the other hand, have stripped away reproductive rights for women. They've stripped away medical care for transgender people. They've banned books. They're taking rights away left and right. But they're gaslighting their believers, or their followers, sorry, they're kind of cult-like, into believing that that's what the Democrats are doing. So that they're distracted by the falsehoods of what the Republicans tell them and the fear that they instill in them against the minorities and marginalized communities. They're distracted by that. They let that fear and rage consume them, so they don't pay attention to what the Republicans are actually doing, such as voting against the best interests of their constituents, voting against expanding Medicare, making it harder to vote, banning books. And I know some Republicans are very well aware of what's happening in the Republican Party and are full on supporting it. But there's others that don't really follow politics closely, that just hear what the media and Republicans want them to hear. And that's what they're basing their voting decisions on and their thought processes and beliefs on. Instead of reading actual bills, looking at their voting records. The Mueller report, they say it completely cleared Trump. It didn't. There were multiple arrests that came from that Mueller report. And it showed that there was collusion with his administration and Russia. But because of a weird DOJ tradition, they don't indict sitting presidents. So it did not clear Trump. But you're not going to know that unless you actually read the Mueller report. It's hard. It's long. But I recommend you read it so you know. And don't trust the politicians. Democrats will spin. Republicans will lie and gaslight. Progressives will tell you what's up. But they're being batted down by the other two major parties. So that's about all there is to it. I mean, just don't take politicians' words for it. Read the report yourself and come to your own conclusion. Although that might be hard for some because they're lacking critical thinking skills, or they've been so brainwashed into believing that the Democrats are the deep state and everything that goes against their beliefs is the deep state. Even though there's facts to back up the claims that go against the Republicans, they just claim it's a deep state. And their believers or their followers believe it. Blindly. Without question. They believe everything that Trump says. And they believe everything the Republican Party says, even though the Republican Party is lying. Yet they're critical of everything the Democrats say. That's fine. Be critical. Be critical of all politicians. Absolutely. Do it. But when you make your decisions and you vote, make it based on fact and not what you're hearing from the politicians' mouths or what you're hearing from the media. Because the media has their own biases. They're not there to just report the news anymore. They're there with an agenda. Most of the media leans more right because they're corporations. They're in it for the money. And Democrats tend to want to tax corporations and the wealthy. So even news programs and news outlets like MSNBC, when it comes to economics, they're quite conservative because they don't want to have to pay taxes. So they're spinning the narrative to make it sound like everyone paying their fair share in taxes is this terrible thing and it will ruin the economy and jack up the deficit, and when it's quite the opposite. So no matter what party you're in, think critically, question, and above all, read. And then you can come to your own conclusions. Other than that, vote. No matter how big, how small, or how insignificant you feel, your vote does count. And if you're in the LGBTQ+ community, you are valid, you are worthy, and you are loved. So that's all I have for you today. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks.